Welcome back, folks. If this is your first time, welcome to the channel. So this is somewhat of a product review, as well as a little bit of update on my custom. So I'm reviewing Mr. Resin. I saw Mr. Resin on a YouTube channel. They used it. It seemed like a straightforward product, fairly simple. So I wanted to give it a try. This review also is some of the shortfalls that I had with the product. Not to say that the product is that these shortfalls are because of the product. It might be because of the user. So keep that in mind. It's just my experience with the product itself. Overall, I think it's a great product. I think it does a good job, but there's certain things that I just wasn't too aware of when I started using it. So this is kind of my learning curve, and giving you guys tips on as far as what I went through using this product. So Mr. Resin works off of a UV light. Mr. Resin also has the UV light, but I'm pretty sure any UV light would work with this resin. What the box also tells you is that you could use direct sunlight. So UV light, it'll probably be a minute and a half, depending on the thickness of the resin, of how much you use and how much you're trying to harden, is how much time the UV light is going to be on it. But for the most part, I think maybe a quarter inch might take about 2 minutes. All right. And then you put the UV light on top, and then you reverse it and put the UV on the bottom, and then a minute on each side, and it hardened for the thickness that I used, and that was about a quarter inch. When I initially did it, my initial use of this, what I did was put tape behind and then filled up the resin. When I did that, I didn't have the UV light, so I put it out in the sun. So when I put it out in the sun, when I filled it, I made sure that there was no bubbles. But when I put it out in the sun, bubbles appeared, and by that time it was hardened already. So I had to Dremel it out, and then I attempted it a second time with tape, and then made sure, like, triple checked that there was no bubbles, and sure enough, it hardened, and there was bubbles that appeared. So I started wondering, why that was happening. It could have been that the tape wasn't completely sealed and the air got in from the bottom. I don't know what the process, or what I was doing in the process that made that happen. But later on, I wanted to put a little bit of tint. So those 2 times that I failed, I went ahead and removed it. And then I figured I'd go ahead and make sure that the seal on the back was a little bit more stronger than just tape. So what I did was I cut out little plastic pieces. I cut out little plastic pieces, and then I put them in the back, and I glued it, made sure that it was airtight, and that way when I filled it, no air got in from the bottom. So when I did that, I filled it up, and I made sure, of course, that there was no bubbles. And then I went ahead. By that time, I got my UV light. I went ahead and I put it under the UV light, and within the process of maybe about 30 seconds, it started bubbling up. It was creating a lot of heat. The resin, of course, because of the chemical reaction with the UV light, it's just, I mean, I didn't find it strange that it was conducting or creating a lot of heat, but that heat seemed to start creating bubbles. So because I didn't leave it out in the sun, I could actually observe it within the seconds that I put it under the UV light, and that's what started happening. So what I did was try to remove them as the process went. I failed. It wasn't good. So I started thinking that maybe the color, this color started reflecting a little bit more of that UV light, and that's what was creating the heat. So that was one of my theories. So what I did was not use color, just put a clear plastic behind it. So just saline, cellophane, I think it's called. So I cut up this into that pattern. I glued it in the back, and then I made sure there was no air, no seals broken in the back, and that no air was gonna get in through the back, just in case. And made sure that there was no bubbles when I filled it. And I put in the UV light, and it worked perfectly fine. It did start heating up a little bit. So what I found was the best process is use clear back, and do it the first layer. Don't fill it up all the way to the top. Just fill it enough where it's gonna hit all sides, and make sure that it's a very thin layer, and it's gonna make sure that within that process, that initial process of just putting just enough to cover the bottom surface and all the corners and all the sides, that pretty much ensures a good seal. So once I did that, I went ahead and filled it all the way to the top, and then I continued the process of the UV light. That's how it worked the best. And I think I went through these problems because of the thickness of the windshield that I was trying to build. And white color, I did want to get that color because I remember when the initial war kicked off and whatnot, and these panels were a tint of green, bluish green, if I remember correctly. But that's why I wanted to put that color in there. I believe Mr. Resin, they have some color additives. I'm not too sure. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I saw it. I can't say for certain, but I would look into that color resin. But as far as that's concerned, beyond that, just making sure that that initial layer is thin, and it creates a seal. Then after that, I could fill it up and just let the UV light do its work on the thickness, and then of course turn it and then do it again. Besides that, those growing pains of learning on how to do it and how to work with it, it's a great product. I'm not sure if you've seen the review I've done of the Amazon Humvee. One of the things of the Humvee that they sell on Amazon for the 1/18 scale, the G.I. Joe size Humvee, is that it's got great detail, but it has no windshields. It has no glass, no plastic. So I think that's how they save money, which is great because the Humvee is $25, and it's awesome detail. But so when you get a turret like this, you could easily fill that up with that resin and create your windows that are perfectly sized, of course, because it's resin, and it's just, you're making a custom window for each of these panels, which is pretty much completes the look of the Humvee for $25. And the resin it's really not that expensive, not for what it does and how much you're going to use it. I think it's a great product. They also, I know I've worked before with other resins. These headlights were done with resin, but more of an epoxy, I should say. These headlights, I did them with epoxy, 2-part epoxy. They work fairly well. I think I could get more clarity with Mr. Resin, and of course epoxy, I had to wait for at least 6 hours before I could actually use this. So it speeds up the process, which is another upside of Mr. Resin. All right. If you folks have any other questions about Mr. Resin and what I went through, by all means send me a message through YouTube, and I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. So I'm almost done with this custom. I think I made a video about this one a while back ago, but So this one is pretty cool. I haven't made a video about this one as far as the functionality of it, but it's pretty much like my others. Fairly fast, pretty good suspension, independent suspension, 4-wheel drive. I like the look of this one. My other videos, I also clue you a little bit on the build of this one, and also on how to merge both of them. The look of the Humvee and the look of the Lamborghini Cheetah up front, which kind of is a amalgam of the Vamp, considering that the Cheetah, or actually the XM311 Lamborghini, was competing with the Humvee, and was the inspiration for the Vamp, as I understand it. So it's kind of all worlds kind of collide on this stuff. So it's fun. It's fun to design these vehicles. All right, folks. Hopefully, I could bring you some more videos on the update of this one, the completion, and also the function. And then I'll give you some more videos of the work in progress for the other Humvee / Cheetah / Vamp. All right, take care out there.